this is my new bike, and as I sort of mentioned in my last video, or introducing this bike, I had an issue with the chain slider. I noticed when I brought it back home after riding it the length of New Zealand that the chain slider had actually disintegrated. And after a bit of homework, also found out that this is a part that's virtually impossible to find anymore. As Cagiva is no longer made, Cagiva bought MV Augusta, and then the brand decided just to focus on MV Augusta only. So parts are very scarce or impossible to find, as I found out. So I did a bit of searching on the internet and found in forums that a lot of people have had the same problem. Someone actually had created a 3D printer file of the part, and I started to look into this. It actually seemed to be quite expensive to do. I obviously don't have a 3D printer, and it also had to be printed in nylon, which makes it more difficult because that material is not the easiest material to print in. So after a bit of humming and hawing, I decided to well, there was two options. One, to use a knife board and cut it in half and zip tie it around the swing arm. But I wanted to do a job as good as I could possibly do. So I purchased some plastic. I'll put some details of what the plastic is. It's a kind of nylon, but a very hard wearing plastic that's used for chains and industrial applications. I also found this drawing online, which I don't think is the actual Cagiva chain slide part, as this bit here isn't needed, and also there's a little cut here that you need to do to fit into the bottom of the swing arm. I basically used this jig that all the stuff's on, and used a router and planed it several times up and down the piece to form the shape, but also to bring this ridge where the chain slides over. What is the purpose of a chain slider? Well, it's basically to protect your swing arm from the chain scraping along the metal. And this is the original one, as you can see it's all perished. So I kind of use this as a template along with this drawing here. So as you can see, this is the finished product. The one thing was it was really hard to get in onto the swing arm because the plastic was quite hard, as where the original part was quite rubbery and flexible. So Matt and I, we struggled for about an hour and a half or so. And in the end, we because I formed the slider to have the bend with a heat gun, the sort that you use to get rid of paint on walls. This mounted the plastic to give it that bend, and we had to reheat it again to make it more malleable. And then so the whole of the chain slider matches the pin at the front, but also stretch it a little bit to get it precisely where the bolts fit in here for the slider. I've ridden the bike for about 2 or 3 hours now since fitting the slider. There's no noise obvious. In fact, I think it was making more and more noise before scraping on the swing arm. I don't think it was too much damage. And another thing I probably should do quite soon is actually just give it a lick of paint, because I'm pretty sure if it is steel, it will rust quite soon. So that's going to be my next job. Anyway, I hope this helps. I guess if you search this video, you've got the same problem. There seems to be quite a lot of people asking in forums about the slider, and a lot of people going without, but I personally wanted to refit it and do the job the best that I could do. So the tools that you need would be a router, the plastic mentioned before, and I'll put details here, and also a Dremel drill is useful, along with the oscillator saws or for cutting fine parts. But it was relatively easy to route. I wasn't too sure what it would be like with the cutting blades, but it cut like butter. Hopefully it doesn't mince up like butter with the chain, but we'll see. But so far it doesn't seem to have much damage, and I think this is going to probably last a lot longer than the stock version. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to comment and subscribe. Cheers.